Hi guys, and welcome back to another Championship video, and today we're going to be looking at round 27. This is the point in the video where I'd normally say let's take a quick recap on round 26, but we're not going to do that as it was an absolute shambles, so we're going to skip straight past round 26 and on to my predictions. Don't forget, if you're new, please subscribe to the channel and hit a like, it really helps. Let's get into my predictions. And starting off with Cardiff taking on Blackburn. Now Cardiff, they haven't won in 4 games, but they did draw their last game 1-1 with West Brom. So pretty decent point there. Blackburn, they'd won 6 in a row. And then they drew 0-0 with Huddersfield, who are full of surprises for me. I never seem to get Huddersfield right, and I always underestimate them. But Blackburn, the winning runs ended. And now it's time to see if they can bounce back. I think they will, and I'm going to go Blackburn to win 2-0. Luton versus Bournemouth next. And Luton, they drew their last game 1-1 with Fulham. A very, very good point. Bournemouth, they've won 2 in a row. After a bit of a struggle, a patch without a win. Back in form, 1-2 in a row. Can they make it 3 here? It'll be difficult because Luton, if they find the back of the net, Luton are a good side because they do create good chances. They just don't finish them. However, I'm going to back Bournemouth here. Narrow 2-1 win. Barnsley versus Blackpool next. And Barnsley, in their last 8 games, drawn 3, lost 5. They're still struggling. And I do feel bad for the fans, as obviously a few seasons ago they nearly got relegated, survived in a crazy way on the last day, in the last minutes, to then the season after was last season where they ended up in the playoffs and no one expected it. They put a brilliant run together at the end of the season, got in the playoffs, to now this. Being the worst performing team in the league, they've picked up the least points. And they can't really get any sort of run going. They're really struggling. And I want them to stay up, to be fair, because I feel really bad for the fans after such a good season last season. But it's looking quite difficult for them. Blackpool, they won their last game 1-0 against Hull. And they won another game recently against Peterborough. But there's not much other than beating the newly promoted sides as of late. They've been struggling for wins against anyone else. And yeah, Blackpool have started slipping. And I am a bit worried that they could, if they can't turn their form around quickly enough, they could end up slipping into a bit of a relegation battle. However, for this one, I see it being a draw, so I'm going to go 1-1. The next game is between 2 teams that are in very good form at the moment. Derby versus Sheffield United. Now Derby, unbeaten in 4, and they've won 3 of those, so they're really making a good go of surviving. Obviously, 21-point deduction, everyone sort of assumed that was them done. Had a poor start to the season as well, to be fair. But they've started putting a few little winning runs together now. And, I mean, if they pull it off, it would be incredible. But can they do it? That's the big question. Put down in the comments, do you think Derby County will survive this season? They're playing against a Sheffield United side that are also in very good form. In their last 5 games, they've won 4 of them, drew 1, and their last game was a 1-0 win against Fulham. Obviously a great result. Fulham very rarely lose in this division. For the game, I just think both teams are on a great run. But if both teams come at about 90%, Sheffield United have the quality to win the game. I think the only way Sheffield United lose is if they're poor themselves. Because if you put Derby's best against Sheffield United's 90%, Sheffield United will get a result. So I'm going to go Sheffield United to win 1-0. Fulham versus Bristol City now. And Fulham, they hadn't won in 5. And then they hit Reading for 7 goals away. This is the second time they've done it this season, previously against Blackburn. And look what's happened to Blackburn since that loss. They've been exceptional, climbed up the table. Could Reading go on a little run? Maybe. Although I don't think they've got the players to do it. Fulham, however, brilliant, 7-0. And I can see them scoring some more here. Bristol City, their last game, they beat Millwall 3-2. Didn't expect it. Andreas Weimann with a hat-trick. He is going to be so vital to them this season because I think without him, they might be a bit further down the table towards the relegation zone. But for this game, I can't knock back Fulham here. I don't think they'll get as many as 7. Going to be sensible and say Fulham comfortably win 2-0. Huddersfield take on Swansea next. And Huddersfield, I want to apologise to because they are a team that I've written off a lot this season. I never ever really go for Huddersfield to win. I've expected a drop off pretty much all season. And now I'm going to finally admit I don't think they're going to drop off. Knowing my luck, that'll change and they'll start losing constantly. But they're now unbeaten in 6, 3 wins, 3 draws. And their last game was a 0-0 draw with Blackburn. And that stops Blackburn's winning run. So fair play to Huddersfield for being able to put a stop to that. I didn't see it coming. And I'll take you a bit more seriously from now on. You're playing a Swansea side that have lost their last 3 games. And they've also had their most recent 3 games that were supposed to be played postponed. So they haven't played in a while. Now I can't see anything here other than a Huddersfield win. I'm going to back them. And I'm going to go Huddersfield to win this one 2-1. Middlesbrough take on Reading now. And Middlesbrough, they're unbeaten in 6 with 5 wins. Chris Wilder is really pushing this club up the table. And I think they might be someone who I should have put higher at the start of the season. And I think they will end in the playoff spots this season. They're playing a Reading side who obviously lost their last game 7-0 to Fulham. And I mentioned earlier that Fulham also put 7 past Blackburn. And then Blackburn have been brilliant since. Do I think it will happen with Reading? No. And the reason is there's a lot going on around the club at the moment. Obviously, they've been hit with a point deduction. The manager's not really trusted. And yeah, Reading are in a very different position to Blackburn. So I don't think they can turn it around. Reading, in their FA Cup tie, and I wouldn't normally mention the cup, I'd normally just go for the league. But they lost to the lowest ranked side in the division, Kidderminster Harriers, 2-1. So things aren't looking great at Reading at the moment. And I can see nothing here but Middlesbrough winning. So I'm going to go Middlesbrough to win 3-0. An interesting game now, Millwall versus Nottingham Forest. Millwall, they lost their last game 3-2 to Bristol City. And they're struggling for consistency as of late. Win-loss, win-loss. They just need to go on a bit of a winning run if they want to push towards the playoffs. Nottingham Forest, they went on a very good unbeaten run. They've now lost their last 2 games in a row. They then did go to the FA Cup. I'm going to mention it again because it was a great game. And they beat Arsenal 1-0. Arsenal obviously have won the FA Cup the most times out of any club. And the last time that Arsenal went out in round 3 was against Nottingham Forest. So Nottingham Forest in the FA Cup just have something that Arsenal don't seem to like. That will give them some confidence, and they played brilliantly in that match. But just Millwall, they haven't drawn for a few games, and this game to me just has draw written all over it. So I'm going to go 1-1. Peterborough versus Coventry next. And Peterborough, they won their last home game 2-1 against Millwall. Coventry haven't won in their last 6 games. For this, and I've seen a few people saying that they think this could happen here, but I'm going to go completely against the league table for this one. So it would be a wild card in a sense. Peterborough, I think they're going to win this, and I'm going to go 2-1. Preston versus Blues next. And Preston, they've won 2 in a row, both 2-1, against Stoke and Barnsley. Blues, not won in our last 4, and we lost 1-0 to Plymouth in the FA Cup. I was a bit worried because I don't really understand why we played Troy Deeney for 120 minutes, who has a recent history of injury issues. And guess what? Troy Deeney is injured. So it's not looking great for Blues at the moment. Not much around the club is looking great. And I know there's some protests happening, not at this game, but at our next home game against Barnsley. I'm just going to go for this because I'm hoping that we can perform on the day, maybe with Deeney not there, who I'm sort of mixed about. He's obviously got very good finishing. He's our best finisher at the club. But he seems a bit unfit maybe. But I'm going to go, someone's going to step into that position and do well and earn us a point. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. A big game next in the playoff push between QPR and West Brom. Now QPR, they've won 2 in a row and 5 out of their last 7. So they're in great form. West Brom haven't won in their last 3 games and they've drawn 4 out of their last 7. So QPR are really going for it, winning a lot of games. And West Brom are struggling to put any sort of run together. And it makes me worry that West Brom won't finish in the playoff places at the end of this season, which would be a massive disappointment for them. And I'm going to back the form. I'm going to go for QPR to win this. I think they'll be able to hold West Brom out, as West Brom haven't been very clinical this season. And I'll go QPR, narrow win, 1-0. The next game, and the final game, is between 2 teams that have both lost 2 in a row. Both are opposite ends of the table. Stoke away against Hull. Now Hull, they went on a good run. They'd won 4 in a row, then they drew 2. So unbeaten in 6. But then, as I mentioned, they've lost their last 2. Stoke, they've lost 2 in a row as well. And they're going to want to start winning some games. Obviously, everyone does. But if they have real ambition about finishing in the playoffs, they need to win games like this. Because Stoke, they've been down in the Championship for a lot longer than a lot of people expected. I think a lot of people expected them within the first 2 seasons of coming down to go straight back up. And it hasn't played out like that for them. If they want playoffs, they need to win games like this. And this is sort of bringing me back to the Derby versus Sheffield United game. I just think both teams have been in similar sort of form, I guess. But Stoke's quality is better than Hull's quality. And I'm just going to assume that both teams are going to play to the same percentage on the day. And go for Stoke just to edge it 1-0. So that's it for my predictions for the 27th round of the Championship. Please let me know in the comments what you agree with, what you disagree with, and put your predictions down there too. Please like the video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more Championship content. Hoping Blues can get something out of Preston this weekend. Brilliant if we could win it. There's a lot going on around the club at the moment, and I can only hope that things get better soon. Our owners go, someone comes in, and we can finally move forward as a club, as it's been a lot of constant relegation battles. A lot of them have been on the final day as well that we've survived. I don't think I can take it anymore. Up the Blues.